Hey there everybody, DestroyerX here, and welcome to part 3 of Let's Play Sonic the Hedgehog. We are now in the Spring Yard Zone, which, as the zone name does imply, there are lots of springs in this zone. Not only are there a lot of springs, there's also a lot of bobbins or bumpers if you prefer the English name. Of course, there's going to be lots of slopes. There's going to be lots of other things too. Of course, lots of badniks, such as the rollers or the arma, if you're talking about the Japanese name. There's the buzz bombers or the beaton, if you're talking about the Japanese name. There's the spikes or the yadrin, and that's the Japanese name for it. And there's gani gani or crab meat being the English name. And that rolling ball thing, that was the arma or roller, if you're talking about the English name. Arma is only available. Arma can only be attacked when its shell is opened up. So there you go. Other things I can talk about is that there are some other elements you have to look out for, like for example those floating spike balls. The spike balls are in a chain. Yeah, there's plenty of things you have to look out for. This zone is it's actually somewhat pinball focused, somewhat. It's not as pinball focused as a zone in Sonic 2 is, but it's the beginning of the pinball trend of some Sonic games. Just gonna make yourself just go up these blocks very carefully. Don't want to get crushed. Don't want to get hit, of course. Yeah, funny. Let's see. So far, so good. Of course, as we know with the springs, the yellow ones they bounce Sonic a little ways, and the red ones bounce Sonic even higher. There we go. Of course, you want to make sure that whenever you're trying to land on a platform after you bounce off a red spring, just want to make sure you don't run into an enemy, or run into an enemy projectile, like what Gani Gani just launched. But yeah, so far so good. Also, it does pay to explore the level a little bit, because there are some hidden areas in the Spring Yard Zone. I don't go into any of the hidden areas, but it does pay to explore. Sometimes your exploration will be well rewarded with things like barriers. Sometimes you'll, of course, find treasure trove of rings, maybe some, invincibility here and there. It just depends. I don't know where everything's mapped out in this level, mostly because I don't have a map of it, so there you go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to head into the special stage again, which I've already talked about the special stage extensively in part 2, so I'm not going to go into it too much in part 3. But I like that pseudo 3D effect where you'll see pseudo 3D birds and then all of a sudden they transform into pseudo 3D fish. I thought it was a pretty nice touch. I guess this is the blast processing power of the Sega Genesis! Of course, I'm not playing the Sega Genesis version. I'm just playing I am playing a port of the Genesis version, but this is, of course, on Sonic Mega Collection for the Sega game. I mean, not Sega, for the Nintendo GameCube. Oh yeah! So far, so good. All we have to do is just make those color blocks disappear, and we can collect our prize. Now, in the earlier Sonic games, particularly the ones that are on the Genesis, the Chaos Emeralds are mostly shown in their Emerald cut. But in the later Sonic games, especially the 3D Sonic games, they're going to be mostly shown in the Brilliant cut, which is... If you ever seen a cartoon diamond, then that's basically what the Brilliant cut looks like. It looks like your traditional cartoony diamond. But yeah. One thing I can also tell you is that the bobbin is actually worth, if you're outside of a special stage, the bobbin, if you hit it, you can rack up 10 points off the bobbin. If you care about points, there you go. I don't care about points though. One thing that I looked up in the Sonic Wiki, which I don't know if it's true or not, because I don't remember, because I don't really explore your level all that much, is that apparently there are 2 bonus plates at the end of Act 2 for the Spring Yard Zone, which is something I did not know. If it's true, please let me know in the comments. If it's not true, well then, please let me know in the comments. And those things that I just got hit by, that is the Yadrin, or spikes, as they're called in the English version. So, what is a Yadrin? Good question. I'm gonna look it up on the Green Hill Zone. The Yadrin... Actually, the Green Hill Zone calls it a Yadrin, and the Sonic Wiki calls it a Yadrin. So, I'll call it a Yadrin, because the Green Hill Zone, they're very good when it comes to, pronunciation of the, of spelling out the Romanji of the Japanese names. So yeah, so we'll call it a Yadorin. Yadorin. There we go. Yadorin. Okay. But yeah, the Yadorin, those are hermit crab robots. So basically, the only way you can attack those is if you're rolling into them using the spin attack. You cannot use the spin jump on them because of the spikes. Just want to make sure to try and stay in the middle as much as possible. When those blocks right there, they retract in on themselves. And of course, that Arma basically trying to, you know, catch us off guard. You always have to be on your toes in a Sonic game. See, see, Act 2's already done. That was pretty quick. So back into the special stage we go. Of course, in each as you go through all the special stages, they start getting harder and harder. So it's one of those things where that's another incentive to, of course, finish off the special stages as early as possible, because as you go through the game later on, it becomes a lot harder to try and keep keep rings in each stage. So that's why you want to try and get the Chaos Emeralds as quickly as possible. And with that, we are done. So we have 5 Chaos Emeralds now. 5 Chaos Emeralds! Which means we only have 1 more to go. But now we're in Spring Yard Zone Act 3, which basically combines elements from the first 2 acts into this one. Which means it's going to be a bit more difficult than the first 2 Spring Yard Zone acts. One thing I will note that is noted though is that the later Sonic games, they really don't refer to things as zones. They mostly they just call, like, for example, Ice Cap Zone in Sonic 3, it's just called Ice Cap in Sonic Adventure. And Green Hill Zone in Sonic the Hedgehog is just referred to as Green Hill in Sonic Adventure 2. See, this is one of those hidden areas I was talking about. Just trying my best not to get squished. I don't want to get squished, and I don't want to get blasted either, and I got blasted. Well, it's not like we have to keep a lot of rings for Act 3, because Act 3 is the Eggman boss battle. But it would help to, of course, keep some rings, so that way we don't, of course, you know, die. Plus, the more rings we collect, the more lives that we can potentially get. As just a friendly reminder, every time you get 100 rings, you get an extra life. However, there is one thing I mentioned, is that if you, supposing you had 115 rings and you get hit, that doesn't mean, of course, you collect get up to 100 rings, you get another extra life. No, you would have to get up to 200 rings to get that extra life. The programmers did program the game well to make sure you do not cheat. They thought of everything, didn't they? Yes, they did. But yeah, so far, as you can see, the levels are starting to get a bit harder. Part 4 is actually gonna... It's where the difficulty is really gonna start ramping up. Which, Part 4, I'm not really looking forward to commentating about it. I wasn't really looking forward to playing the zone that we see in Part 4, but we'll see in Part 4, but I guess it's better to talk about it than to play it, I suppose. Oh boy, so far so good. We're almost done with the zone. Just want to time that. Of course, you had to time that just right. You didn't want to get hit by that spike ball. And we don't want to get crushed here. One thing I don't like about the about the 2D Sonic games is that Sonic tends to he doesn't walk up hills very fast at all. He just doesn't. And of course, at this point right here, we just want to make sure not to fall off those blocks because bottomless pit, we don't want to die. So yeah. I almost fell off right there. But now we're encountering Dr. Eggman in the Eggmobile again. And the Eggmobile, what will happen is, as he's hovering over you, he'll start lunging down with a spike. And if you move out of the way fast enough, you'll get the spike stuck in one of those blocks. And Eggman, of course, will fly up. And as he retracts a spike, the block breaks. So you'll want to get those 8 hits off before you run out of room to stand on, otherwise you're going to fall and lose a life. But 8 hits and Eggman is down. And after we take care of this right here, hit the capsule, then what we'll do is wrap up Part 3 and tune in next time for Part 4 where we will tackle my least favorite zone in the game, the Labyrinth Zone. So till next time everybody, ciao for now. Bye.